big tech meddled in the 2020 election. That's a fact. They censored the Hunter Biden laptop story to keep that information from you, the voter. Our nation cannot have free elections unless there's freedom of speech. In Congress, I will fight to secure our elections, break up big tech, and defend our First Amendment rights. My name is Andrew Badger, and I approve this message because Utah's 1st Congressional District needs someone who has the courage to stand up to the establishment.
Paid for by Andrew Badger for Congress.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. Go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on this sunny June summer morning. Officially summer now.
Official summer, yes.
Made it officially summer this week. And it's going to feel like it by Monday with the temperatures pushing into the mid-90s. But some really nice weather the last week with some rain. We really desperately needed that. Really helping out my garden. And my tomatoes that we're going to be talking about today. My tomatoes have not looked better.
We'll definitely be talking about tomatoes, so
yes,
that's for sure.
Want to welcome Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden to the Garden Guide on this Saturday morning. A very busy morning throughout the valley with the MS 150 bike tour on. And so if you are going to be in your car this morning, watch out for those cyclists who are going to be making their way around Cache Valley and enjoying the beautiful sunshine along with the rest of us today, as we have a really nice forecast for this weekend.
Oh, it's a great time to be outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't get any better. The weather's been nice. I was out last night working in the garden. It was just like cool. The sun went down, and it was just like pleasant outside. So nice.
Beautiful.
Yep. Pulled a few weeds, watered some plants, checked on the tomatoes. They're growing a little big.
Got a chance to finally get out in our garden and do a little weeding because it seems like the weeds just want to grow faster than the garden.
Yep. Had some time this week to get the tiller through the garden, and It looks really good. I just got to get in between some of the rows now, but corn's all coming up. Beans are looking great. We harvested peas last night.
Oh.
Yeah, so we had snap peas last night. That worked out great.
Great.
And our kohlrabi's ready, and the potatoes look awesome, so stuff's just growing like crazy.
Coming up.
Yeah, it's growing like crazy.
And a busy weekend at Anderson Seed and Garden this weekend. You mentioned that a number of fruit trees had come in last week.
No, they're coming.
They're on their way.
They're coming, yeah. So Monday we've got a load of fruit trees coming that we have been anticipating for a couple months. So there are some new peaches, nectarines. We've got cherries. We've got plums. We've got what else? There's a few pears,
plums,
not too many apples. I mean, we've got probably like 5 varieties of apples, but I'm sitting pretty good on apples right now. It's all the stone fruits we've been waiting for. So it's the cherries and the nectarines and the peaches and the apricots that we've really been waiting for. I think I've got a few like pluots and plueries coming too. So like the pluots are like a plum apricot cross. Those are really, really good.
Oh.
Yeah, really, really tasty and different. And then the plueries are a cross between a plum and a cherry. And so they're really
pluery?
Pluery.
Plueries.
Pluery, yeah. So it looks like a plum, but it tastes kind of like a cherry. Yeah. Yeah, so they're pretty darn cool. So we've got a bunch of those coming. I just got some really nice filbert trees in. So hazelnuts, if you want to grow hazelnuts, we've got some really good looking trees. it's been a couple of years since we've been able to get hazelnuts, so they've turned out really nice. And then I've got a nice selection of shrubs that just came in last night, and another selection of shade trees that'll be here on Monday also. So it's an exciting weekend to be at Anderson's. We've got some really great sales going on as well too. So we've got a good-sized table of perennials that have finished blooming. So they're all done blooming, and so we're going to sell those for half price. So today we've got the bloomed-out perennials are half price, and we've got those all set aside in one section of the store, so you can find those easily. And we've got some wave petunias left still. They're usually $5 each, and we got those on sale for $2 this morning. And we've also got quite a few of our promo geraniums. They are normally $4, and we've got them on sale for $1.50. So starting to clear some things out.
Get some of the perennials out.
It's getting hot in the greenhouse. When it's 90 degrees outside, it's 105 inside the greenhouse. So it gets pretty
humid.
hot. Yeah, it's really humid. So we got to move some plants out of there and get them outside and get things ready to go for midsummer.
Yeah.
It's crazy. July is just around the corner.
Next weekend.
Yeah. July is around the corner, so it's not too far off. So got some great deals going on at Anderson's. Beautiful shrubs that just came in last night. We just unloaded a truck late right after we closed, and some gorgeous stuff that came in with that. Those fruit trees coming on Monday. Some more shade trees coming on Monday, and flowering trees as well too. So we'll have the nursery stocked back up again. Got some good looking roses as well too. So we've got probably 150 roses left that still look pretty amazing. So they're not looking too bad, but. We've got a special guest on the show today, Arthur Taylor with Sunstruck Gardens. Glad to have you here, Arthur.
It's about time.
Been sitting over there quiet and patiently.
Talking about fruit trees.
I know.
I want to talk tomatoes.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yep. So my tomatoes are starting to grow out the top of my aquadomes. So I've got aquadomes on them. Of course, we did not have aquadomes to sell this year because they're still sitting in a container out in the Pacific somewhere. But they're growing out the top. When that happens, it's time to put the cages on.
Get the old handy cage.
Time for cages. Yep. So I pulled a bunch of my handy cages out last night, and I pulled a bunch of my big handies out last night for the cherry tomatoes.
Start with the big handy.
Yep, the big.
That's what I like to see.
So nice. How tall are the big handies?
64 inches.
64 inches.
Yes.
So when you stick them in the ground, you're still at about 50.
Yeah, 58.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You don't have to stick them in too far. But yeah.
They worked amazingly well on my cherry tomatoes last year. So I had some big handies on, a sun sugar, a sweet baby girl, and cherry chocolate last year. And all those plants grew to the top of the big handies, and then they kind of curled over and grew down to the ground. So they were like 10 feet.
Major production.
Yeah, they were like 10 to 12
Major
feet
production.
long, and they just produced like insane, like crazy. So,
well, it's all due to me.
I'm sure it is.
So I appreciate that.
Those big handies they are so handy, and we used them multiple times this year with all the frost that we had going on, and so we were able to lay those right over the top of some of our tender plants as we were getting those late frosts in May. When the valley
was cold.
It was as much as we'd like to say it's going to be a hot summer, it's been one of the coldest springs on record. Yeah, it's been one of the coldest springs. And you think about it, even last week, I was looking at the temperature going, we're going to get frost. We're going to get frost in Newton. It's like there was parts of the valley where I was like concerned we're going to get into the mid-30s and we were going to have frost.
We were getting close.
Yeah, so it has been a very cool start to the season. And, a lot of rain, like you said, Will. It's like we've had great rainstorms that have like snuck through and kept everybody fairly green. We haven't had to water a whole lot, so I'm still kind of hand watering the tomatoes, but using my tomato magic formula, and those suckers are growing like crazy. So,
are you using a dram wand head?
No.
Oh,
the garden's like so far away from where the water source is that I have to do the 2-gallon watering cans and just
but you do sell dram, which is the finest watering equipment.
I know because
I've got a lot of it.
Because you use a lot of it. Yeah, you use a lot of it. So
Made in USA, fantastic stuff.
The dram stuff has been excellent.
Yeah,
quality.
They do
have a really cool product that's called the Siphon Injector, and you can actually put your concentrate of your fertilizer into the injector, and then you attach it right to your hose bib, and then you attach your hose to it.
Right.
And then it mixes the fertilizer into the water that's coming out your hose with the water wand on it. So you can actually, inject the fertilizer right into your hose. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice. Mm-hmm. So all you need is like a 5-gallon bucket, this injector, and the fertilizer and a little bit of water, and you mix the fertilizer at a 20-to-1 ratio in your 5-gallon bucket. So you can like mix a 5-gallon bucket of concentrate basically. And then you attach the siphon injector to your hose bib, hose attaches to it, and then it siphons the fertilizer from the 5-gallon bucket right into the hose. And so you can fertilize and water at the same time. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Really, really great little tool. It's called the siphon injector. So, all right. So,
for everybody here at home, I think you need to know that Mark has an entire team here. He's got a producer, assistant producer, guest.
And a guest.
Yeah, it's like it's a major production.
I'm sure we could have some people call in also. Yeah, that would never be
There's
bad.
a guy named James that's going to be calling in, I think, and he's going to ask me something about what should I plant outside my nuclear reactor.
Oh, there you go.
He's to be watched.
Yeah, well, we'll watch out for him. So if you'd like to join our conversation, I've got Arthur Taylor here with Sunstruck Gardens. We're going to be talking tomato cages and wonder walls, and these are all products that are made right here in Cache Valley, and they're wonderful trellis material and for trellising your tomatoes, and I mean they're so handy. You can use them for a lot of different things. 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868 if you would like to join our conversation as we talk about trellising our tomatoes. When did you start making handy cages? I mean, I know we started
it was
with
2005.
Was it 2005? Because we started with the sun cages.
Right.
And so we had the round sun cages, which of course we have this year as well,
but
too.
we made handy cage before the sun cage.
Did you really?
Yeah. And there was a kind of an issue with how that originally got started.
Yeah.
And everybody asked me if I would make them. And so
That's right.
We bought a wire former, which, by the way, when we bought it, it was nice. And then the electronics became defunct.
Yes. Obsolete.
And obsolete. And so it cost $50,000 to fix it.
Oh,
yeah.
And but we just got that done last year, and so
it's cranking out rings like crazy.
So we've
now.
been doing some round cages again.
Very nice.
But
so it was 2005 for the handy cage,
and then 2006.
I think I have some of those 2005 ones. Still.
And they're still green.
Oh, yeah. And they're still green. Yeah. So the powder coat has held up since 2005. So we're talking 17 years.
And how you can tell is they have a little more rounded corner because of the way we bend them.
Right.
Yeah.
So the original ones were a little bit more rounded.
Rounded in the corner, yeah.
New ones are a little bit more angular.
Yeah.
Is that what you would call them?
Sharper.
There you go. Sharper angles. But honestly, I've got some of those originals. They're still powder-coated green, no rust.
Yeah.
And I've never had a broken weld.
It's amazing.
Yeah, those are just like the nicest cages that we've ever used. And they stack together so tidy at the end of the season. So,
the other thing that's happened is this last year we also replaced our welder, one of the welders that does this project or this process, and it pulse welds. Not to get too technical, but the welds that we've had coming off on these new cages are superior to what we had before, which was great.
So what's a pulse welder?
Well, it flows the weld in a little more smoothly, and it has a bit better penetration. You have to do it on a robot, though. Well, you don't have to, but a guy who welds, doesn't like to pulse weld because it's so hot.
Yeah.
So when you put it on a robot, you get a really nice weld and no spatter.
And very precise.
Very precise.
Very precise. Interesting. And I've seen that process. It's very interesting.
I find it super interesting. Of watching it.
It's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool. So,
but we always have, you still have to have people to run them. And
you have a pretty good sized crew out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 of us now. I mean, we're good. we're not big.
Yeah.
But I kind of think we're really, and we've been doing a lot of huge planters lately. We did 130 linear feet of planters. No, 1,100.
Yeah.
And 30 linear feet of planters for a project down in Salt Lake. And we've been doing a lot of planters. And I'm telling you, my guys, they're amazing.
They do. They do really great work.
I look at their work, and I'm like,
yeah, they do really good work.
Yeah.
So I've been very happy with the handy cages, and my tomatoes, like I said, are growing out the top of my aquadomes, which means it's time to put the cages on.
Right.
And so I'll take those domes off this weekend. We'll cage those tomatoes all up, and they're going to be 18 inches to 2 feet tall when they start growing out the top of the cages, the top of the aquadomes, and then they look kind of small in the cages after that. But then with the fertilizer that we're putting on them, so I'm doing the compost tea, and I'm doing the complete disease control for disease on there, as well as a tomato and vegetable food, and they just grow like crazy. They take off. Yeah. But I fertilize them until they start producing fruit. So usually I'll fertilize through June and through July, but then by the 1st of August, the fruit's starting to ripen up, and so we stop the fertilizer at that point. So
make them produce.
Yeah. You gotta cut the fertilizer back, and then we start cutting the water back and letting them stress just a little bit, and it gets the fruit to ripen up a lot faster. And then you can trim some of the exterior of the tomatoes back a little bit to get them to ripen up a little bit faster. But looks like we've got a couple callers.
We do.
Awesome.
Let's go out to the phone lines. We have Christine joining us first on the Garden Guide from Smithfield. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm good. I don't have a cage question, but I bought a couple of them, and my tomatoes were so big yesterday that they knocked them over. So I must have not had them deep enough in the ground.
Sometimes those plants get so big with so much fruit on them, it can pull just about anything over. But traditionally, the handy cages hold them up very, very nicely, especially the big handies. Yeah, big handies.
Yeah, I was impressed. My question is my potatoes are not coming up. They've probably been in the ground a couple of weeks. Does the ground need to warm up? What do I need to do?
Depending on how deep you planted them, sometimes it can take 2 to 3 weeks for them to come up. And did they have little sprouts on them?
Yeah, I left the sprouts.
That's good. That's good. Usually it makes them come up a little bit quicker. Would not hurt if you dug down just a little bit on maybe a couple of the hills and just check to see if they're coming. But the soil has been really dry, and so make sure you water really heavily. So I only
they've got watered.
Okay, that's good. I only water.
I watered them too much.
I only water my potatoes about once a week, but I water them really heavy, and so they get watered really deep. And I've got soaker hoses on my potatoes, so I water them for multiple hours and get that to soak in really deep, and then I let them really dry out in between watering. So it just depends on how deep you got them planted. So I use a kind of a trencher to dig a trench with, and then I put the potatoes down the bottom with the fertilizer, and then I cover them up. And some years I only get them covered about 4 to 5 inches, and some years, depending on how deep we trench, sometimes it's like 6 to 8, and it takes longer for them to come up when they're 6 to 8 inches than when they're 4. So just could be depending on how deep you got them.
I didn't fertilize them, so what do I need to fertilize? Do I just need to wait till they come up and then fertilize them?
A good tomato and vegetable food would be excellent. Okay. A lot of my customers use bone meal. The bone meal is great for like potato production. I used the ProGrow 365 this year because I had such great results with it last year on my squashes and pumpkins, and so I thought I would try it on some different stuff this year. And it's a fertilize once, last the entire season application, so it will last, it's supposed to last 365 days, but really it's going to last just the season, so multiple months out of it. And so I'm really, really curious to see how they do. I'll tell you, my potatoes are looking amazing right now, so I'm very excited about those. Last year they were kind of the pits.
So I just need to be patient.
Yes.
And maybe they'll come up.
Yeah, do a little inspection in a couple spots and just dig down and see, but you should have little sprouts coming up. It's usually 2 to 3 weeks before your taters come up. So
patience is a gardening virtue.
It really is. Yeah, sometimes you have to learn that in the garden. Yeah.
Okay.
All
right, but thanks for the tomato cages. They're cool, and I also Mark got me hooked on the green ones, and I use those for my cucumbers.
Oh, the Wonder Walls?
The Wonder Walls, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. They're the green ones, and they have stuff across them, and then I let my cucumbers grow up.
Yeah. So the Wonder Walls kind of look like tomato cages, but they're longer, and they've got that kind of mesh.
We need to talk about
Yeah,
that.
we'll talk about the Wonder Walls.
Yeah.
I've got mine on my peas right now, and we're picking peas, and they'll be done next week, and then we'll take the peas off of those, and I'll move them over to my cucumbers, which are about ready to grow at the top of my aquadomes also.
They look like a ladder.
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's like it's kind of like an A-frame. Yeah, it's an A-frame on the
I
Wonder
like
Walls.
those.
They are the best. I love my Wonder Walls.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you,
guys
Christine.
Have fun. I'll talk to you. Yeah, have a great day.
Yep, a great weekend too.
Later,
All right, see ya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
You know, we had a little problem this year. Obviously, everybody knows that materials pricing, everything's gone up.
Yeah.
And so we talked about this.
Yes.
And we were very concerned about what the price of materials would do to Wonder Walls.
Yes.
And so we will be making those again next year. We didn't make them this year because we just thought it would be too much for somebody to bear. So that was.
Yeah. Is steel steel prices are coming down a little bit, or they kind of
they're leveling off, but I think our increase was 80%, and I passed some of that along, only the price of the increase, and I didn't pass it all along.
Yeah.
So you've had a little increase, but we've really tried to hold the price down, and then we concentrated on the handy and the big handy.
Yeah.
Because the other styles take so much
extra
raw materials that the price increase I thought was a little too much to bear. I think next year, after it all goes up, everybody will go, well, okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of the way it's going to be. But it looks like gas prices are going to come down though. So
really,
yeah. So crude was trading at $100 a barrel this week instead of 120. So it's come down that much. So hopefully it'll come down a little bit more.
We hope.
We'll see what happens.
Every time I fill up, it's a historic increase.
Your sad little diesel truck.
Really tough.
Okay, who's up next?
We have Earl joining us on the line from Wellsville. Welcome to the show, Earl.
Good morning, Earl.
Hello. So that guy you have there?
Yes.
What's his name? Arthur?
Arthur,
that guy? Yeah, he's a star of some videos. And I wanted to remind your listeners that if they want... Now, see, we get the talent you pay for.
There you go.
You know, you get the talent you pay for, but there's some great videos. Where do we put them, Arthur? Are they on a...
Well, they're on Mark's website.
Yeah.
And
we've got,
some of them are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think we've got all of them, but
Mark's a good...
Definitely on YouTube as well, too.
Mark's an accent, too.
If you want to look at the Valley Channel's Facebook page, we put them up there. But they kind of show, you know, they make fun of Arthur a little bit and show him, you know, planting and stuff.
I paid for that.
See how...
I was going to say, why would we want to make fun of Arthur?
I paid for that, yeah.
Oh, he's a lot of fun to make fun of.
Yes. As I recall, we made
and you know what you want to do, Mark? You want to talk politics with Arthur.
Yes, but not on the radio. Yes, but not on the radio.
Oh, big trouble. Earl, no, Earl, no.
As I recall, we made an amazing video about the handy cage in my garden last year.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was...
We've got some beautiful shots in Mark's garden, and they're just awesome.
Yeah.
So
honestly, my tomatoes last year were as tall as I, and I'm not like super short, but I'm not like really tall either. So I'm just kind of like average height, 5'9", 5'10", and the tomatoes were as tall as I am, and like 3 feet around, and they were just covered with fruit. But that was just the tomatoes.
Yeah.
That was just the tomatoes. I mean, my squashes were taking up the entire garden, and the corn was amazing. So it was a good shoot.
People don't think of how big that plant's going to get. They get 10 feet tall, sometimes 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they're heavy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
so,
if you don't
have support.
If you don't have the right support on there, they just don't produce very well. If they're
American-made support's the best support you can get.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Well said, Arthur.
So,
okay, see ya.
Well, thanks for the call, Earl.
Thank you, Earl.
Let's go back out to the phone lines. We have Lori joining us on the line from College Ward. Lori, thanks for holding.
Hi.
How are you, Lori?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great this morning.
Good. My question is about those bugs that look like box elder bugs.
Yes.
And we just have a ton of them, and I was wondering, what can we spray on those, and how often do we have to spray to kill those? They're just overrunning our yard.
They are smaller than the box elder bugs, correct, and a little more brown in color.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a elm seed beetle. Elm seed beetles showed up in the valley probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago. We'd never really seen them much before that. And elm seed beetles really don't consume anything except for elm seeds, which come off the elm trees. And we just happen to have a lot of elm trees here in the valley. But they moved down from Idaho. So we used to see them more in southern Idaho. And for some reason, they have migrated to Cache Valley. And they are a giant nuisance. They end up all over the place. And they're very similar to the box elder bugs that eat the seeds on the box elder trees. Well, this is a beetle that goes after the seeds on the elm trees. There are some great options to get them under control. So permethrin, like indoor-outdoor from High Yield, works great. Bug Blaster, also from High Yield, is excellent. You could use there's a couple longer-lasting products like the Psychic would be great, or the Seismic, which has microencapsulated technology in there, so those will give you 3 to 4 months of control, where the Bug Blaster is probably going to last for 2 months, so you can get double the control out of them. Safe to use indoors as well as out, and you can use them on plants, all kinds of plants except for edibles. Don't use them on edibles. The permethrin is safe to use on fruits and vegetables, but the Bug Blaster and the Seismic are not. And so you can spray those on the house. You can spray lawn. You can spray shrubs and trees. You can use it indoors, but you don't want to use it on edibles. And it'll give you months of residual. And so if those elm seed beetles crawl through it on your house, it'll take care of them. You'll find little dead carcasses all over the place. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll try that and hope that that's the trick.
Yeah, we're starting to see spider activity. We're starting to see box elder bug and elm seed beetles, and so a good foundation spray around the foundation of your house, around the windows, around the doors. Focus some on the south or the west side of your house, especially if you've got siding, because they like to get up underneath the siding. And you can do just a preventative spray to get them before they really get aggressive and active. Noticed on my dad's barn the other day, just box elder bugs, like an explosion of box elder bugs. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the weather. Usually midsummer we don't see box elder bugs, but I had a huge outbreak, so we got to get those guys under control. So. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're,
appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, Lori. Have a good one.
And that frees up all the phone lines. So if you have a question for Mark or Arthur here during the Garden Guide, 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868 as we head to the bottom of the hour for our news break. And coming back, we have plenty of time to take your calls here on the Garden Guide on KVNU. 30 minutes after the hour, I'm Will Theoright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Law enforcement has confirmed that 2 members of the Utah State University aviation program died Friday morning when the small plane that they were flying in went down in a field between Mendon and Wellsville. The crash was reported around 9 a.m. Cache County Sheriff's Lieutenant Michael Shambarchi said the instructor plane went down in a field west of 2831 South State Road 23 near the base of the Wellsville Mountains. Witnesses quickly arrived at the crash site and assisted in guiding law enforcement and EMS personnel onto the scene. It was learned by the witnesses that there were no survivors of the crash. Utah State University later confirmed the identity of the victims as USU flight instructor Blake Shumway and aviation student Michael Carpenter. And the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a modified version of Senator Mike Lee's Baby Formula Act. The Fixing Our Regulatory Mayhem Upsetting Little Americans Act passed on Thursday. Following passage, Senator Lee said the bill will make it easier and more affordable for American families to gain access to baby formula.
There are countries that are able to manufacture formula in Europe, for example, that have regulatory standards that are as stringent as ours, or in some cases even more so. Those have been rendered unaffordable and therefore inaccessible to most families because of these heavy import taxes. And the Formula Act that was passed today suspends those. This will make it easier for Utah moms and dads throughout our great country to get the formula they need so our babies don't go hungry.
The modified version of Lee's Formula Act will lift substantial tariffs on the importation of baby formula and reduce the costs. Well, that weather forecast calling for mostly clear skies as temperatures are going to stay right around the mid-80s during the day with overnight temperatures around the mid-50s. Will Feelright, KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ed. Hopes for a third straight Stanley Cup are still alive in Tampa thanks to Andre Palat.
Left corner, Hedman. In front, Palat! Score! Palat! Andre Palat! 3-2 Lightning with 6:22 left.
On WFLA, that goal came late in the third, and Tampa held on for the 3-2 victory in Denver. Colorado still leads the series 3-2, but they can still lift the cup in Tampa when they play Game 6. That's tomorrow night on ABC. Freddie Freeman received a standing ovation in his return to Atlanta as a Dodger. Braves manager Brian Snitker presented him with his championship ring pregame. Freddie went 1 for 3 and scored 2 runs in LA's 4-1 victory, and an emotional Freeman spoke to the crowd.
I know I got a different uniform on, but I still love each and every one of you guys.
This is ABC Sports.
Inflation at record highs, American-made energy under attack, and our enemies growing stronger. President Biden's weak leadership is allowing Nancy Pelosi and the radical left to jeopardize America's security and put our future at risk. That's why conservative Blake Moore is fighting back against President Biden, Pelosi, and the radical left to create a better future for our nation. In Congress, Blake Moore is working to lower inflation for Utah families by reducing debt, creating jobs, and growing the economy. To better secure and protect American-made energy, Blake Moore is working to increase domestic production, helping America return to energy independence. And as a former Foreign Service officer, Blake Moore knows that by strengthening American military might, we can better protect Americans. It's time to fight back against the radical left for a better American future. Support conservative Blake Moore for Congress.
I'm Blake Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Moore for Congress.
Calling all golfers. Summer is here. Come experience Birch Creek and our summer golf leagues. Every Monday night is Couples League. Men's League is Monday after 1 and any time of the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Ladies League is Wednesday or Thursday. And junior golf camps run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Call Birch Creek today for information regarding our Summer Couples League, Men's and Ladies League, and Junior Golf Camps. That's Birch Creek Golf Course in Smithfield.
Hey everybody, John Weiss from Heritage Jeep. Everybody knows that here in northern Utah, we've got one of the greatest Jeep playgrounds in the world, right here in our own backyard. And Heritage is Utah's Jeep outfitter. Right now, it's Jeep's Freedom Days at Heritage Jeep. What does that mean for you? 0% financing for 60 months on select new 2022 Jeep models OAC. Come on in and see us in Brigham City, Tremont, and Logan. Heritage Jeep, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Taking the guesswork out of gardening. It's the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the show as we have a special guest joining Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden, Arthur Taylor from Sunstruck Gardens, joining us on the show. And Mark, we were talking earlier, a busy weekend and a great weekend if you're looking for a great deal on perennials at Anderson Seed and Garden.
So not only do we have some gorgeous blooming perennials, but we've got some that have finished blooming. And so we price those accordingly since they're not as amazing as the ones that are in full bloom. And so we're going to sell all of our bloomed out perennials, and they'll be in a special section in the store, 50% off on the bloomed out perennials. It's a really great deal because they will bloom like crazy next year, but they're done for this year. So you just got green and leafy right now. So green and leafy is nice, but we usually want flowers on them. So if they're done blooming, we'll sell them for half price. And so we've got a nice section of bloomed out perennials that are half price. We've got a rack of wave petunias still. They're usually $5 each. We're selling those for $2. So great deal on the remaining wave petunias. And our 4-inch geraniums are normally $4, and we're selling those on sale for $1.50. So we've got some great deals there. We talked about the fruit trees that are coming on Monday. We've got some really nice selection of peaches. Everybody's been looking for peaches and nectarines and apricots since, let's say April.
Yeah.
since we've been out
since spring.
Yeah. And so we've got a nice selection of trees coming in. These are not bare root. They are in 10-gallon pots. They are fully leafed out. They've already put a lot of growth on. So we had a grower up in Oregon grow these for us since February. And so they are really, really nice. They're going to be very well established in the pots, and they're ready to sell. So if you're looking for fruit trees, we'll have all those stone fruits, lots of different varieties to choose from. I think I've got 10 kinds of peaches coming, and 5 kinds of apricots, and probably 2 or 3 nectarines, and at least a handful, 5 or 6 cherries, and some nice pears as well too, and just probably 4 or 5 varieties of apples. We've got plenty of apples. I kind of didn't bring too many apples, and mostly stone fruits, and that's what everybody's kind of looking for.
Hey, I've got a question.
Yes.
So on a cherry tree, we've got some little, it looks like sap coming off it. What do I need to fix that?
There's a couple different reasons why that would happen. And the cherries are starting to color. So I noticed our cherries are starting to color, and so we've got to get those sprayed. And so when they start to blush, when they start to go from green and they start blushing pink or coral colored, that's the time to spray the cherries for the cherry fruit fly. And so we don't want the western cherry fruit fly maggots inside the cherries. So we don't want like little white worms inside the cherries. And so now's the time to spray your trees. And then again, usually in about a week or 10 days. And then we're picking a week or 10 days after that. But the sap coming out, there's a couple different causes for that. There's a disease called shot hole fungus or corinium blight, which gets into all the stone fruits, which will make little spots on the leaves and spots on the fruit. And then the spots on the leaves will kind of fall out, and it looks like somebody shot your tree with a shotgun. So there's like little holes all over the place. But it also causes cankers on the branches and the twigs to form, and when those cankers split open, you get little globs of sap that come out.
Okay.
And so we've seen that quite consistently, and there is a cure for that as well too. Bacterial canker gets into all the stone fruits as well too, which makes a different type of canker on the trees that will split open. Can be on the trunk sometimes, can be on the branches, and you'll get these little globs of sap that come out. If you see like sawdust inside the sap, then you've probably got a little bit of borer activity. But if you don't see sawdust in there, then you probably don't have borers. And the borers can cause that as well too.
Oh, borers are so...
Yeah. They're difficult. They're difficult to control.
Yeah,
they are boring as well too.
They just want to stick around forever.
Yeah. They never leave.
Yeah.
When the sap is flowing in the trees early in the spring, any type of wound can cause the sap to flow out, and then it will just kind of solidify when it comes out. But normally, the shot hole fungus is our number one cause. And shot hole fungus can be controlled with a fungicide spray. So like a systemic fungicide like Rally or F-Stop would be great. You can use copper soap or complete disease control if you want to go with an organic option. But your timing is critical on those. So you want to spray in the fall as the leaves are dropping off. So you want to do a fall application just as the leaves are coming off in mid to late October. And usually we'll say to do that around 50% drop. So when 50% of the leaves have come off, spray the trees, and it will knock the rest of the leaves off the trees, which makes it easy to clean up. Then in the spring, you can do it again with your dormant spray, but you really want to make sure and get that second application on just as the blossoms are dropping off. So right after the blossoms come off, then you want to spray it again just as the fruit's starting to form.
Is that like Garden Foss?
The Garden Foss would probably work on that. You can use the F-Stop. You can also use a product called Rally if you're doing commercial orchards, like you've got a commercial orchard. Rally would be really good as well too. Or the copper soap is excellent. The complete disease control would be great. But that's when the disease really attacks it. And then this year, right after the blossoms dropped off, it stayed really cold and wet for 3 to 4 weeks. And so we usually recommend you do a second application 2 weeks after the first one, if it continues to stay cold and wet after that first application. And so this year, if you didn't do the second application, you probably had a little bit of shot hole fungus show up because it was just so cold
shot
and
hole
wet.
fungus. I like that. That's
Shot
a good.
hole fungus.
Yeah, I got shot hole fungus.
But it really looks like somebody shot your tree with a shotgun. I mean, it looks looks like you hit it with bird shot because there's just little teeny holes all over the leaves. Yeah, for sure. So
that Garden Foss, can I?
Yeah.
A little plug?
Oh, yeah, the Garden Foss is
you
amazing.
and I were talking about, we have 80 apple trees. We have just a tiny bit of
fire blight.
But you're saying that a lot of people, but we used the Garden
Foss preventatively,
and I think it works really well.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So the Garden Foss you can apply early on in the season to the trunk. It lasts for 3 months, so it gets you through like the whole bloom period and into the fruit production period, and it will stop the fire blight from entering into your trees, and it's very, very effective.
But we've had a winter or a spring that is very conducive to fire blight.
Very, very conducive to fire blight, and we've seen a lot of fire blight showing up just with the heat.
And you're saying there's been some horrible stuff.
Oh yeah, some really bad samples have been brought into the store, and powdery mildew as well too. It will control mildew. It'll control the fire blight, and so making that early application really does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
It really does
Wonderful.
make a difference.
And it's easy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so easy to do.
Yeah, you just spray it right on the trunk.
You can do 80 trees in, a couple hours?
I believe we did it in an hour.
Yeah, it really doesn't take very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great way to go. Okay, phone call.
We have Joan joining us on the line now from Millville. Joan, welcome to the show.
Join us, Joan.
I answer to anything, believe me.
Welcome.
I've got a couple questions this morning. We've got we inherited in a new lot an apple tree that had never been pruned or anything done to it, so we didn't know what it was. We think that it's a Jonathan, but I'm wondering how soon do I need to thin it and spray?
Good questions. Yeah, good questions. Usually we'll start thinning the apples when they're somewhere between dime and quarter size. And so I've started thinning my fruit like crazy. So 2 weeks ago, I thinned one of my donut peaches because it had literally hundreds of peaches on it. And I got it thinned down, and I looked at it last night, and the fruit has more than doubled in size since I thinned everybody. So it makes a huge difference on your fruit production and the quality of your fruit if you get them thinned properly. So good time for thinning.
So should it be, I've heard like 1 every 6 inches?
1 every 6 to 8 inches, yeah. On stone fruits for sure. You can go a little bit closer on the apples, depending on the strength of your branches. Do you thin your trees, Arthur?
We let the June drop take care of it.
Yeah, just let them do their own
You know,
thing.
we're building a house. We're doing so much stuff that next year, I promise, next year
You'll get your trees
we're going
thinned,
to get everything wrangled.
And then codling moth applications, you should have your first application on already, and second is coming coming right up. So I noticed the extension put a notice out the other day, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So I think it's the first part of July.
So since we missed the first one, we just go with the second.
Go with the second, yeah.
When it's scheduled.
Yep. Honestly, I don't think there was a lot of codling moth activity with the first flight because the weather's been so cold at night. And I think it really messes up their life cycle because they don't fly at night when it's really cold. And we've had so many cold nights. I don't think there's been a lot of activity, but I might be wrong. That's just my common sense. I don't know the scientific data,
Mark,
Arthur.
Wrong?
I know it happens from time to time, but I'm fairly confident that we did not have a heavy flight because of the cold temperatures at night. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And what do we spray with?
You have multiple options. If you want to go organic, I would do the fruit tree spray from Fertilome, or the spinosad from Natural Guard. Those would be really great options for all-natural control. Otherwise, 7, the new formulation of 7 is very effective. It lasts a little bit longer. You don't have to spray as frequently, so you're only spraying about every 3 weeks. And also the new Fruit Tree and Plant Guard. It's called Fruit Tree and Plant Guard from Bonide. It has a 3-week residual as well too. So those are nice because you don't have to spray as often. And I have all 4 of those products at the store, so you can
good.
Pick those up.
And do we need to spray peaches? I've had peaches before and never sprayed them at all, and they've done just fine, but I don't know if I should be or...
I only spray my peaches if we notice a problem, and so they'll definitely get the fungicide right after the blossoms drop off. I had to spray mine a couple weeks ago for aphids because the leaves were curling up like crazy, so I did an aphid application. But other than that, just as needed, where the apples and the pears have to be sprayed consistently all summer long. So
if you notice aphid and you have a lot of ladybugs, should you just let them take care of it, or do you need to spray?
The ladybugs will eat 50 aphids each a day, and so they can clean off a pretty good-sized tree in just a few days if you have enough population of ladybugs, and they'll clean them all out. But they can do a little bit of damage beforehand, so the key is to kind of watch your trees a little bit closer, make sure you're not seeing too much damage, and if the ladybugs are doing it naturally, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling this morning, Joan. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.
All right.
Phone line's open if you have a question or a comment for Arthur or for Mark here during the final 10 minutes of the Garden Guide. 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. You know, speaking of fruit trees, Mark, we were talking about thinning your fruit trees right now, and I noticed you mentioned about 5 inches.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the rule of thumb. 5 inches when you have fruit coming on, apples or peaches or nectarines, apricots, whatever. The best rule of thumb is to just kind of try to give each fruit about 5 inches.
5 to 6 inches between fruits. Yeah. And so when like my peach tree that I just thinned is only 3 years old, and so it's got a lot of young branches on it that are going to be brittle and easy to break as the fruit grows. And so I thinned a little bit more aggressively on that tree because I don't want too much fruit on it because I'm afraid it's going to like break branches off, and I don't want to do any damage because that tree's growing amazing right now. So it's only 3 years old. It's 8 feet tall. We planted it, and it was a 3.5 foot stick, and it has put that much growth on, and it was just covered with hundreds of peaches this spring. And so I thinned it to about 8 inches. Yeah, because I didn't want too much on there. And in some of the branches that were kind of weak, I took basically everything off of those.
Just to be careful.
Yeah. And then we'll do a little bit more serious pruning to shape the tree next year, because usually at about the 3rd year, I like to start really shaping the tree. But otherwise, I've done just selective pruning up to this point and just letting it grow, doing its thing. So. But I do have some white nectarines on my white nectarines. So.
And they came in? Oh.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for those.
Now, on an older tree, like, for example, in your orchard, Arthur,
right,
when you've got older apple trees, a lot of times you can get away with letting that just thin itself.
Yeah.
That's what they call the June drop. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So I do need this minor correction, and this is important. My wife and my daughter did some of the initial pruning, and they had some other pruning done. So the pruning is done. I don't want anybody to think we just let it go.
No.
Okay.
You got to prune.
And my wife's trees look the best.
Yeah.
They really do.
She did a good job.
She's really good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I trained one of our new crews this spring in my dad's orchard, and we pruned basically all of his trees except for one apple we didn't have time to get to. And we pruned like all those trees, and they look amazing. The guys did a really great job.
And can't you still prune throughout the year?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, people think it's just a
spring
early
thing,
spring.
but during the summer you can go ahead and prune. But the one tree that we didn't do got pruned really heavily a couple years ago, and so it probably is okay.
It's
but
okay.
I needed to get in and get some of those water
I like a
sprouts
prune
out,
tree.
Yeah,
I like a prune tree.
They're a lot easier.
They're beautiful.
They produce so much better too if you prune properly. So it does make a big difference. But thinning the fruit out is critical if you don't want to have damage on your tree, and if you want fruit that's big and juicy and really tasty. It definitely affects the quality of the fruit if you don't get them thinned properly. So last year I had a whole bunch of little small peaches, even though we thinned like crazy. But the drought conditions really affected the tree for sure.
Yeah, it kept a lot of fruit just from really growing big.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking bacteria and fungus earlier today. I noticed in our backyard we've got a couple cottonless poplars that are right on the boundary with our neighbor. So we can't cut them down unless they say we can. And it's one of those things where they don't want to cut it down, we don't want to cut it down, and so they just continue to grow. But
you like the shade, but
they're great for the shade, but that's the only thing that they're good.
The trees are kind of a pain. Yeah,
they are
kind of a pain.
But every once in a while we'll get it almost looks like soap suds.
Yes,
and that happens.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that have those trees will have that come up, and this has happened to us over the years.
It's poplars and willows that get this, and it's a unique disease, and it affects poplars and willows, and it's called slime flux. And slime flux is a bacteria that gets into the tree, and it creates excessive pressure in the circulatory system of the tree, and it has to release somewhere. And so the tree will split the bark open. It'll split the bark open with the pressure, and then it kind of foams out of the tree. And it just kind of bubbles out of the tree, and it looks like somebody... it looks like foam. I mean, it looks like somebody sprayed foam on the tree. And it usually smells kind of rancid. It doesn't smell really good. And bugs are very attracted to it. So there's a specific beetle that loves it. And a lot of people think the beetles and the insects cause the damage. They're just taking advantage of the foam coming out. So what you have to do, it's not really easily corrected. You basically just have to drill a couple extra holes in the tree to allow the sap to release out so that it doesn't retain that pressure inside there. So usually about 6 or 8 inches below where the foam's coming out, you just kind of rinse the tree off with a hose, and then drill like a triangular pattern of holes, maybe about 2 inches apart. Just do a little triangle right underneath there to allow some of the pressure to come out, and that will help. You can sterilize it with a little peroxide. I like the peroxide better than using Clorox. Instead of using bleach, the peroxide's a little safer. And it sterilizes that wound, and basically you just got to let the tree just heal over on its own. There's no chemical control for it. And probably 75% of the time the trees just recover and heal and do just fine, and 25% of the time your tree's going to just croak.
Yeah.
So. I feel like we're in a scene from Ghostbusters.
And really, that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Slime flux, yes.
Slime flux. We got the slime flux, 275.
Yeah. Flux capacity.
Yeah, it's one of those things that every once in a while it's crept up a few times, and nice thing is that you're right. It's something that usually the tree just fixes.
Just kind of fixes on its own. It is good to allow that pressure to come out and to clean that wound a little bit as well too. So, not a bad thing. Yeah. It's called slime flux, and affects willows and poplars.
All right.
Willows and poplars.
Well, as we head towards the top of the hour, let's just mention again some of the specials that you have.
Oh yeah, going on at Anderson's. We've got 4-inch geraniums and a good selection still, and they're all in bloom. They are usually $4 each, and we've got them on sale for $1.50. Wave petunias, those are also in 4-inch containers, normally $5, on sale for $2. They're just about gone, so if you want to get a few more wave petunias, you better come get them this weekend at the $2 price. You can't beat it. They're going to disappear. We've got some bloomed out perennials that will be half price, and they have finished blooming for the season. They still look great. They're still healthy. Just need to find a new home for those so you can enjoy those blooming next year, so they're half price. We've got a great delivery of fruit trees coming on Monday. There's about 350 trees, mostly stone fruit. So peaches, nectarines, cherries, apricots, plums, and a few pears and apples as well too. And these are fully established 10-gallon pots, big trees. They're going to look amazing, and it's a good time to plant. Yeah. And it's as hot as it gets in the middle of summer. They will do amazing planting even in July and August and into the fall. So we're excited to get those trees. And we did get to talk about handy cages and big handies and
I love it when I get to be a guest on your show.
It's fun to have you. It's so fun to have you on. Yeah. Usually you get that once a year invitation just to come and hang out and have a good time.
And Arthur,
I thought it was more like a summons. Go ahead.
Sometimes it might feel like that. And for people who are wanting to take advantage, grab one of your big handy tomato cages, Anderson Seed and Gardens, and where can they also get more information?
We've got them.
I think just from us right now here today.
So head into Anderson.
Here we are. We support anything that grows. Sunstruck Gardens, the handy cage, the big handy, and it's always made in the USA, of USA materials by
right here in Cache Valley. Right here in Cache Valley.
We really appreciate Mark for having taken an interest in our ideas for over a decade now. Many times.
It's been like almost 20 years we've been working together. So
all right, great,
it's awesome. All right. Thanks to everyone who's been listening and participated in the show. And we'll be back again next week with another edition of The Garden Guide.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM, the voice of Northern Utah.